Everything is about to change. Bitcoin dominance, Fed decisions, and altcoins on the edge. So let's break it down. What's up, party people? It's Crypto Cronkite. Bitcoin's cooling off, but is Ethereum about to lead the charge? Bitcoin's trading in a narrow band after testing $119,000. It's now down around $117,903 as of this news report, sliding 0.4%. Ethereum 2 is off around $3,759, holding close, but still up about 3.5% this week, thanks to 17 consecutive days of inflows into Ethereum spot ETFs. So what's shaking up the markets? A stronger U.S. dollar is squeezing crypto prices. Traders are cautious before the Federal Reserve's policy update. Market buyers are pausing after recent profit-taking, creating a technical reset. The Fed's next move could explode or crush crypto momentum, and that's all happening today. Yes, today is critical. The FOMC concludes its July meeting. While no rate change is expected, markets are watching. Jerome Powell's tone will be clues, especially if he hints at rate cuts by fall, which could hand crypto liquidity a spark. A more cautious Fed could dent markets. Accompanying the Fed decision, Q2 GDP data drops prior to the announcement. Strong growth might dampen expectations for rate cuts. Then on Friday, the July non-farm payrolls report arrives. Any large shift in jobs could influence the Fed's pivot. All these economic updates are high-stakes signals that traders expect could either stoke or stall risk appetite in both equities and crypto. Global rate drama is brewing and crypto's caught in the crossfire. Another macro layer to watch, a U.S. tariff deadline on August 1st could bring renewed trade volatility. Talks with the EU, Canada, Mexico, and China are ongoing, and any setback could reignite uncertainty across both traditional and crypto markets. On July 27th, U.S. President Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, whatever the hell that is, finalized a trade agreement, reduced planned tariffs on most EU exports from a harsh 30% to a more moderate 15%, covering autos, semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, and more. Steel and aluminum tariffs remain at 50%, while other sectors are either exempt or under negotiation. In exchange, the EU committed to purchasing up to $750 billion in U.S. energy and investing $600 billion in the U.S. by 2028, along with opening markets for tariff-free U.S. industrial goods. While hailed by U.S. officials as stabilizing the whole tariff ordeal, critics in Europe argue the deal is beneficial only to the United States. However, equity markets responded positively. Lower tariff risk relieved pressure on U.S. stocks, especially in semiconductor and energy sectors. The dollar softened slightly, reducing currency pressure on assets like crypto, though broader trade uncertainties remain in play given Canada, Mexico, and China haven't finalized similar agreements. And for crypto markets, the deal removes a major tail risk. Reduced tariff escalation means economic activity and, by extension, liquidity faces fewer shocks, which is constructive for risk assets ahead of today's Fed rate decision. Now today, the White House is set to release a government crypto report mandated by an executive order earlier this year. Markets are keen to see whether it leans pro-growth or tight regulation, so pay attention to that. Altcoins are popping and dropping. Here's what's hot and here's what's not. Now, one of the shockers, Ethereum supply has shrunk. Over 913,000 Ethereum, which is worth $3.4 billion, has been lost due to burns in user error, reducing liquidity and tightening the supply profile. Solana continues to lead the altcoin pack, higher user activity, a thriving ETF ecosystem, and notable DeFi momentum. Binance Coin is surging again, hitting an all-time high and tapping a broader appetite for exchange-led tokens. SWI took a 6% hit on weakness tied to the dollar strength and short-lived speculative spikes. Crypto stock-linked equities dropped sharply amid SEC-related investor unease. And anybody that has Celestia, which is TIA, out there on the market, well, Bithumb has paused transaction, which may impact the short-term liquidity and price dynamics for that altcoin. Major unlocks and upgrades this week could also spike token volatility. Sonic SVM is opening mainnet rewards claim. EtherFi will host an analyst call that may offer insight on the Ethereum staking and usage. CowSwap's CIP 70 governance vote could reshape its fee or incentive model. And separately, Jupiter Exchange unlocked 1.78% of its supply, which could contribute to short-term trade volume shifts. All eyes on Bitcoin dominance. One move could flip the whole market. Crypto sentiment remains cautiously bullish. Traders are aligned with the idea that liquidity is returning, but not too exuberant. Bitcoin's chart shows a flag formation. A consolidation between $115,000 and $120,000 could break either way. A close above $120,000 opens the door to $130,000 plus, while a breach below $110,000 could trigger a correction. Ethereum continues to show relative strength. Even on weaker days for Bitcoin, Ethereum has held firm and may lead to the next tag upward if Ethereum flows stay strong. All eyes on Bitcoin dominance. One move could flip the whole market. Crypto sentiment remains cautiously bullish. Traders are aligned with the idea that liquidity is returning, but not too exuberant. Bitcoin's chart shows a flag formation. A consolidation between $115,000 and $120,000 could break either way. A close above $120,000 opens the door to $130,000 plus, while a breach below $110,000 could trigger a correction. Ethereum continues to show relative strength. What to watch for and what next? So the bottom line is the crypto market stands at a pivotal crossroads, caught between cooling technicals and building fundamental strength. Bitcoin and Ethereum are consolidating just below key resistance levels, while $16 billion in monthly ETF inflows and tightening Ethereum supply signal underlying demand remains strong. The macro backdrop is packed this week, with the Fed meeting today, GDP data today, jobs reports and tariff deadlines could spark sharp shifts in risk sentiment across all markets. Add in the ongoing ETF developments, massive token unlocks, and altcoin ecosystem updates, and you've got a perfect setup for a breakout or a breakdown. Sentiment is cautious, but not fearful. RSI is down to 46.31, leverage is cooling, and Bitcoin dominance is hovering near 61.5%. Now, if Bitcoin breaks higher, altcoins could face a liquidity crunch. But if dominance pulls back, altcoins may surge as risk appetite returns. So what to watch next? Bitcoin reclaiming $120,000 price point, Ethereum ETF flows and analyst updates, altcoin governance votes and unlocks, U.S. macro data, GDP, FOMC tone, and jobs report. So the setup is clear, momentum is building. Whether it's a bullish liftoff or a deeper correction, a big move is coming, possibly this week. And that's the way it is. I'm Crypto Cronkite. Thumbs up or subscribe to stay on top and be ready for that next drop.